All right, it's I got to look now because we're getting deep into these. Episode number 9 of Motorvate, and you want to talk about empowering women. Try being one of the very few that actually wrench in the garage. And I'm not talking about a starter series. I'm talking about in the Cup series. Elizabeth Prestella joining me today. This is the first time that we've met. Yeah. And I'm going, how did I not? Because, I mean, I know you've worked. First of all, let's talk about what you're doing. You're a tire specialist.
Yep.
And also you own a clothing company. So we've got a lot to cover in this next hour. But I'm thinking when I know you were working on trucks. You were changing tires in trucks, I think, when Mike was still even running trucks. Because how long have you been doing this now?
I started in 2012, and I changed tires 2012 until 2015.
Okay. Then that was after Mike. Yeah, Mike's old. So maybe that's why we never, because if I would have seen you in the garage, I would have been like, what, girl, what? So, I mean, the fact that you decided you wanted to work in the garage and then you chose tires.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a little heavy lifting, okay? How did you even come up with this dream to work in motorsports and then to do something like tires?
I always watched racing with my dad, and I'm the youngest of 3 girls, so I was always closest to my dad. And then as we got older and we started watching more, I went to my first race when I was 12 in Fontana. We actually took the train to the track, watched the race, and then after that we started going to Vegas because I'm from Northern California, so it was either Fontana or Vegas were the closest. And Sonoma's not as much fun to watch when you're a kid.
Yeah.
You're more about running around the everything.
Yeah, exactly.
So we did that, and then once I got to 15, I was getting ready to drive. I was like, well, I'm going to learn to work on cars because I don't want to be stranded on the side of the road. My first car was an 88 Camaro that my grandma bought brand new. I still actually have it. It's sitting in my garage at home. And I was like, I don't want to get stuck on the side of the road. So I took auto shop and just instantly fell in love with it all.
So you took auto shop, and I mean, if you remember, like, what were some of the things that they taught you in auto shop, and were you one of the only females in there?
There was, I think, 2 of us, and our first year, we learned how to build a Briggs & Stratton lawnmower engine. They had us all, we were paired up in 2, we took it all apart, had to put it back together, and my partner actually moved halfway through the project, so I ended up finishing it by myself, and I was the first person to get it running out of the entire class.
Okay, that's pretty cool. And so that's probably when you were like, okay, I can do this.
Yeah.
I'm good at it, and so from then on, were you kind of like thinking, I mean, because you could have just said, I work in the automotive industry. So why NASCAR? Just going to the races, going to Fontana, going to Vegas. And did you ever think, I mean, because let's be honest, there's only a couple women that actually wrench in the garage still to this day. And I mean, so I want to talk about the journey of getting there, resilience, tenacity, because you had to have a few doors slammed in your face.
Yeah. Fortunately, my parents are extremely supportive of me. And when I said I want to work in racing when I was 15, they're like, all right, like, as long as you're prepared for this, like, we'll support you every step of the way. And of course, I decided to move 2,200 miles away right after I turned 18 to go to school. I did trade schools. And then from there, I tried getting an internship. I worked at dealerships. I changed oil. I did anything I could before I could actually get in to the sport because it's not that easy without experience because I didn't come from any racing background. There's not a lot of racing in Northern California except for snowmobiles.
Yeah.
I'm not a snowmobile person. I don't like the snow. I grew up in it. I'd rather stay in the warm weather. And so it was just a process of getting there and having my family be my support system of, all right, you want this, let's do it. Like my parents still to this day, when I don't travel full time now, but when I do, they're like, all right, what are your races? And they'll plan out what races I'm working so that they can come and watch me.
I cannot believe. So at 18 years old, you were like, all right, bye-bye, California. Did you come to North Carolina?
Yeah.
So you at 18 years old.
Yeah, it was 3 months after I turned 18, 2 months after I graduated high school. I didn't know a single person. All of my family is still in California, too. So I have no family on this coast.
Did you just get a car, drive out here, and I mean, like, where did you even stay the first night once you landed in North Carolina?
We came out to visit a couple months before I moved, and we secured an apartment. I shipped my car out here. My 88 Camaro got put on a trailer full of stuff. We shipped it out here, and then we shipped 13 boxes on a pallet of all of my stuff. And we're like, we'll just buy the rest when we get there. And so we had it all lined up where I had a place to stay. So the first night, I think I was in a hotel until we got into the apartment. Then we just went furniture shopping, got me a bed, got me the basics, and just went from there.
And then you go get a job, you start changing oil in dealerships, you start working in the service departments.
Yeah.
So how did you even start getting your toe dipped into the NASCAR garage?
I just started sending emails to any team I could find an email for, just seeing if they were hiring, if they're looking for interns. For like at the time I was married, and fortunately he was supportive of me, and he was like, "Whatever you got to do," because he knew I wasn't happy at the dealership.
Hmm.
And it was hard on me because you work at a dealership, you're working 60, 80 hours a week for not a lot of money.
Hmm.
And it's not the most gentle environment, to
Yes.
put it nicely.
Yeah, I was going to say, I can only imagine.
And so I just emailed a bunch of teams. And that was when Jennifer Joe actually emailed me back. And she was like, "Hey, come talk to my crew chief. If you're interested, we're always looking for interns."
So Jennifer Jo Cobb got your
Yeah.
email, actually responded to your email, and that was your door, your open door.
Yeah, she was like, "Yeah, if you want to come to my shop today and talk to the crew chief, like he's there from this time to this time, stop by." And when I talked to him, the first thing he said was, "Are you worried about not being strong enough?" I was like, "I'll get stronger. Like, that's not going to hold me up. If you say I need to work out more, okay." Like, I grew up playing competitive soccer. So I grew up from
I
the
did
time
too.
I started playing when I was 3. And then from the time I was about 8 until 17, I played year round in California. So it was top level. All I knew was traveling, working hard, working out, like being part of that environment. So going into racing, it was the same aspect. Like traveling every weekend, I did that my entire teenage year with soccer. So I'm just like, okay, it's just another day.
So, because how heavy is a tire?
The Xfinity ones that are the 5 lug, they're about 65 pounds. The next gen ones are about 45
Okay.
because we changed the wheels to the aluminum 18 inchers and there's no liners in them.
So I love the fact that he's like, are you think you're strong enough? And
Yeah.
I mean, I love your answer. Well, how can I get stronger?
Yeah.
So
Like,
how
what do I
did
need?
how did that? So okay, let's go about those first days when you start working on the team. What were your responsibilities? Like, what were you doing?
I did a lot of interior stuff because of my size.
Mhm.
I fit inside the trucks a little
I was
bit
gonna
better
say
than tall people, and I'm flexible, so it was easier for me. Plus, I'm about the same size as Jen. So when it came to sitting in her seat, I could squeeze in there a little bit better than all the guys could because their ribs would always hit because they don't have the hourglass shape and they don't have the
I never
rib
thought about
structure.
that. Yeah.
So her ribs would always be too tight for them. So they were like, "Well, we'll start you on there." So like I was cutting seat mounts out and I was helping mount seats because I have some of a fab background before then. They're like, "Well, we'll just see how you do and we'll try you on different things." And within like 3 to 4 weeks, they're like, "All right, starting this race, we'll have you start getting paid for this." Because I had been going to the track as just an intern. I wasn't getting paid.
Okay.
And then once I started getting paid, they gave me a little bit more responsibility. And by the end of the year, I was helping lash the engines.
Oh wow. Now, have you ever done the pit stops? Like, have you actually been in the middle of the pit stops?
Yeah.
Or so, girl, what?
It was like halfway through that year, it was Kentucky of that year. She actually had me go over the wall and change tires. We had been practicing like after hours because at first I wasn't really sure because I played goalie in soccer. So my knees have seen better days.
Okay, yeah.
And I was like, well, I don't know how my knees are going to take this. Like, even though I'm 22, like I abused them when I was a teenager playing goalie. So we would practice after hours to see how I did. And I was actually pretty good. I had pretty good hand-eye coordination. I was fast. And we were like, well, we'll just see. So then it came to a race where they needed a changer. And they're like, all right, just bring your stuff. And one of these races, we're just going to put you in there. And so on the way to the track, they're like, all right, you're going to change tires this weekend. So the tire carrier I had at the time, he was the one that helped me practice. He actually would push me off the wall when it was time for me to jump because I wasn't 100% sure when to jump since I had never practiced besides at the shop with the truck sitting in the parking lot.
Oh my gosh. Okay, take us through that first pit stop. Like, I love the fact that you said your tire carrier's like, go.
Yeah, like he would just give me a little shove, like, all right, jump.
Oh my gosh.
I don't remember much of it, but I remember that it wasn't the most ideal because the guy that had been changing mirrors, I didn't want to do fronts because that's a lot of trust in the driver and the brakes.
I never thought about it like that. Yeah, exactly.
And I didn't want to have to jump on a hood, so I was like, I'll just stick to the back because I can control the back. And if there's a car behind us, I'll just be like, all right, you can go. I'll happily wait while you pull out.
So how many years did, because you're no longer doing pit stops
No.
now. We're gonna get into what you're doing now, but so how many times did you do that in a race, or how many years did you keep at the
It
the
was
pit stop?
about 5 to 6 years,
That's a
and
long
I did
time.
it in Cup too. One year, I think I did 86 races between Cup, Truck, and Xfinity, and some
Really?
ARCA. So I was working with Jay Robinson, and I would do the Cup car with Jay and Joe Nemechek, and then I would help with Derek Cope on the Xfinity car, and then I would do the occasional truck, because at that time I was working with the pit school too. And then I would do sometimes an ARCA race if it lined up with our schedule. That was when ARCA was still doing live stops.
So, and a lot of people, if you're listening, like in NASCAR, you don't just do one job.
No.
And if you get the opportunity, you do. If you're at the track, you're already invested in a hotel room and a rental car, and you're already there with the team. A lot of times, the pit crew and mechanics that are in the garage, they will like try to help out the supporting series,
Yeah.
even if you're just there for Cup. It's like, well, why not? I'm here, make a little extra money, right?
Yeah. And I did everything on the cars too. I also helped wrap our cars when I worked at Jay's. We had partial wraps on them, so it wasn't a full side. I can do partial. The full sides, I get stressed because when they start to wrinkle, I get flustered.
I
So
know.
I'm like, I could do the smaller pieces, but I'm not doing a whole side. So I would help wrap the cars. I would help do the interiors with them. And I would do tires along with that. So I just did a little bit of everything, especially when I helped Derek Cope too. I helped with whatever they needed. I could build suspension, I could pull gears. I just learned how to do everything. That way I was more valuable to the teams.
So please explain to me how it was like if you're in a shop, you're probably the only female in this shop that's actually wrenching on
Yeah.
a truck or a car, and someone says we need someone to do this, and you're like, oh, I can do that. I mean, we're guys going like, who is this unicorn? Like,
Yeah.
where did she come from? And I'm sure you probably maybe had a few instances where guys were like, yeah, right, like she can do it, and then you do it better than them.
Yeah. I
So,
faced that a lot when I changed tires because
yeah.
for at least 3 of the years I changed, I was a top female changer too. My average pit stop was about a 13-second pit stop. It
What?
could have been faster, but I really like my cookies and I like my dessert, so I was not willing to sacrifice dessert to turn into like a lean trim situation. I was like, I want my food, so I'm okay being a 13-second tire changer because that's really hard still. Like a lot of people
Yes.
can't do that.
That's crazy. I didn't even realize that you're so what are some of the maybe just some of your favorite stories, or maybe if there's some mentors in the garage that kind of helped push you through if you had like a down period or something? Because I don't think if anybody tells you you can't do something, I'm looking at you right now and I'm laughing because I guarantee you just kind of go, okay, whatever. I'll just prove to you that I can. I'm not going to argue with you about it.
I've had a lot of people on the pit side be really supportive, especially in my earlier years, because I was so young and I went from pretty much being a self taught tire changer to I went to a school with top tire changers in it. And I would stand out against them because they wouldn't expect me to walk up. Like the first time I changed tires for Joe, he was like, "Wait, you're my tire changer?" It's
Oh,
like,
I was going to wonder. Joe Nemechek is a
yeah.
great guy, but he's never had a female changing
Yeah.
tires. He's old school NASCAR.
He didn't know I had changed tires on the car because it was a rain delayed race. So the first stop of the race, he didn't know I was the one changing the tires, and then we had the rain delay, and he's like, "Wait, why are you in a fire suit?" Like, "I'm changing your tires." "You are?" Like, "Yeah." Like, "Sorry, Joe, but I'm changing tires."
Did he say anything afterwards? Like, hey, you did a good job today.
It took him a minute to kind of process it, and then it was time for us to go back. I was like, "All right, see you later."
And I'm going for it. But,
Yeah.
by the way, I've been doing this for a while too. This isn't my first rodeo, right?
Yeah, it's like the first handful of years as people were starting to learn who I was, like everyone was just kind of like, "Are you sure?" And then they'd watch me and they'd be like, "Oh." And a lot of them were like a lot of the changers especially, they'd be like, "I'm going to help you out. Like try this next time just to because I didn't have all the formal training. I didn't go through all the development programs cuz a lot of development programs back then did not like women in there. Like
Mm-hmm.
I would get brought in to intimidate the guys in their development program to make them step up, but then they'd be like, "Well, we really don't have room for you," but they would bring me to scare the other guys.
So, okay, that just frustrates the hell out of
Yeah.
me because you're going, wait a minute. I'm helping make men better, but I'm better than the guy that I'm trying to elevate into
Yeah.
the next level because you're using me like, well, you can't change, a tire faster than a girl. Basically, is probably
Yeah.
what they were saying, right?
I went to one team and that's actually what happened. They brought me there as like a tryout and I had showed them some videos and they're like, "Well, you have really great hand speed, your accuracy's great. Like, we'll put you with some of our Devo guys." Well, then I beat all of their Devo guys, then they put me with different Devo guys. And then the last one, they pulled the guy off the car and they were like, "All right, if she beats you, you have to wear a wig to the track." And I was 3 seconds ahead of him until my carrier dropped the tire.
Oh,
And then
no.
we finished at the same time. And they were like, "You're lucky that he dropped the tire because she was about to smoke you."
But how did you turn some of that I don't know. See, I'm sensitive sometimes. I try to be kind of direct and tough, but sometimes when people try to say something like you can't do this or I don't believe in you or hey it's really cool that you helped us out. Thanks for
Yeah.
helping us out. I'm going wait a minute, but I want to be the main person that you hire. I just
Yeah.
proved myself. I mean, how many times did you have to do that in your career or has there ever just is there maybe a story that you could share where maybe there was a boss that believed in you and helped you get to the next level? Because now you work in the Cup Series.
Yeah. There's the pit coach I had, he was really supportive of me and he would always push me and he understood how to push me the right way. But he would also be like, just be prepared that the odds of you getting that are low, but all you can do is push harder. And he also pushed me to be stronger on the mechanic side because he's like, you have that back. Like, if you decide I'm done changing tires, you can go work on the car and you still have a job. There's a lot of tire changers that don't know how to work on the car,
Hmm.
and when they hit that point where they're not the fastest anymore, they don't have anything. They go sell houses or they have a landscaping company
Yeah.
because that's their options.
So the thing that's crazy about that is always having I've always been a big believer in having a plan A, plan B, and
Yeah.
maybe even a plan C if you can pull it off. Because and the funny thing is like it takes a woman to figure that out,
Yeah.
right? It's like, hello boys, you gotta have backup plans. So I love the fact that yes, you were changing tires, but you could also do a lot in the garage, in
Yeah.
the shop to kind of be your background. So out of all this experience over how many years now would you say it's been that you've
It's
been
been 12, next year will be 13.
okay. So, what's your favorite thing? What do you enjoy the most?
I probably enjoy the people the most because especially doing tires, we have a tire pile on the cup side. So it's like the tire group, we're all really close. And after COVID, it's not as close as it used to be
Mhm.
just because of the way that they had changed all the policies. But before that, it's like we would all have parties, we'd get together. We have a group chat that everyone's in. That Lisa over at Hendrick, she runs that group chat and she's like the mom of the tire pile.
The tire okay, I didn't even know
Yeah.
this existed. This is awesome.
They also call it the tire mafia sometimes because if you don't fit into that group, like they kind of exclude you.
Oh, no,
Yeah.
no. So you're it so I mean, so when you guys are you talking about, like, maybe jobs in the industry, or is it more just like a fun, like, "Hey, we all just need to unwind a little bit and have a little fun together"?
A little bit of both.
Yeah.
Usually if someone's like looking for a person, they're like, "Hey, I know you don't have the best deal, like come over here." Or like when I first started talking when I was going from Jay's to Tommy Baldwin's, I went to Lisa, I was like, "Hey, I need your opinion on this because Jay was the first cup team I worked for and Tommy needed me to come over and he had actually got Jay's permission before he even asked me." And I was like, "Lisa, how do you feel? Like, do you think this is a good move?" And she's like, "Yes." And so it's like I can always go to Lisa and be like, "Hey, I need your advice on this. Like, is this a good career move? Is this a good choice? Like, how do you feel?" And she'll tell me straight up how it is. Or if she's got an opening, she'll be like, "Hey, I'm looking for this. Do you have a person that fits this bubble?"
So, for the folks listening and anybody that is, thinking, "Hey, I might want to try this out." What exactly do you do now in your position as a tire specialist?
Everything involving the tires except for changing them during the race.
Because
So
now in Cup, they bring in like it's like a squad, right? I mean, it's like a squad that comes in to do
former
the
football players usually.
Yes,
They're
exactly.
specifically trained to do that pit
Well,
stop.
technically, you are a former football player if we
Yeah.
were in England.
Yeah.
Just FYI.
It's like when I first changed, everyone was like, "Isn't everyone that does pit crew former athletes?" I was like, "Yeah, for the most part." They're like, "Well, what'd you play?" I was like, "Soccer." They're like, "Oh, that tracks. That's why you've got the footwork and why you've got the strong legs." I'm like, "Yeah, played my
Exactly.
whole life. Like, I might have not played in college, but that's because I chose to work on cars instead of playing college
Love
and get a degree I wouldn't use."
Yeah, exactly. I love it. It's just like going after the
Yeah.
trade. You knew your heart was in motorsports and automotives industry, so that's what you wanted to go after. I interrupted you. So say anything to do with the tire except for changing.
Yeah.
So like in the Cup series, are you guys talking about do you study tire pressures with the crew chiefs or are you just focused more on the rubber, the wheel, the whole Brit
We
Meringue, I'm like really good at this. I use
yeah.
my husband on our radio show for all the tech talk. I'll
Yeah.
I'll tell you about my tire meltdown story in a little bit.
I do pretty much the measuring. We do the wheel prep. We set the pressures. We keep an eye on them. And like, if there's something funky going on with the tires, they'll be like, what does it look like to you? So we kind of learn to read the rubber in a sense where we can say, all right, like it's wearing heavy to this side, or like the tread wear holes, like they'll pull a certain way depending on how the car is handling. So we can look at the tire and be like, all right, something's funky. Like this is not right. And like we'll look at how the tires are building, and it's usually a consistent build you're looking for. Because if they aren't building a certain way, it tells you how the car is handling. So we interact with the crew chiefs on like stagger and pressures, but we don't study like the graphs. We leave that to the engineers.
So are you going in like on a Monday through Friday, or like what's your schedule like? Because you said you don't travel to all the races, right?
Yeah.
You guys kind of take turns now.
I'm the backup, and then I do part-time cars. So I'll go to last year, I think it was 8 races. Sometimes it's up to 16. It's however much I'm needed because I don't have kids at home. So if something goes south, they're like, hey, can you go this week? And I'm like, sure. Like, I don't have anyone at home that's telling me, no, I'm not allowed to go to the track. So during the week, I'm usually tear down. I do other stuff. I do parts. I do special project ordering, a little bit of everything. Like, I don't really stay still at work very often. I bounce a lot. So I'm more of a utility knife is what my direct boss calls me. He's like, you're my utility knife because I ask you to do anything and you can handle it.
Okay, that is such a great example because we've talked a lot on this podcast that sometimes you might have to do a job that you don't want to do.
Yeah.
It's like, well, that's not, I'm a tire specialist. I should only just be focusing on that. And you're like, no, you need me back here doing an order for you, or
Yeah.
the whole utility knife. And the fact that you educated yourself on all these other positions, and it wasn't that somebody just put you in a classroom. You just kind of learned by doing it, right?
Yeah.
And figuring it out and asking for help.
Yeah. It's like, I have no problem getting dirty, doing whatever. It's like, I draw the line at the men's bathrooms because the guys are gross.
Yes, amen, girl.
But everything else, I'm like, all right, whatever you need. Like, that's what I'm here for. I'm not here to be like, I'm only doing one job. Like, no one that wants their team to succeed is going to say that. If you want your team to be successful, you need to be, all right, whatever you need. I don't care if it's the worst job possible or if it's the easiest job. Like, everyone needs to be a part of that to make the team successful.
I've always heard, like my husband talk about when he was trying to make it in racing. He came from Northern California too. He was from Susanville. And so he came to North Carolina. He wanted to be a driver. He was winning all these races out in Susanville. But when he came here, there was nobody knew who he was. He wasn't getting an opportunity to drive. So he did motors. He did engines over at Petty's. He was a tire changer for Rusty Wallace, Rusty's rookie year. I mean, he did all these odd jobs in order to, and then he did an auto body shop, that he did, I think, in Randleman. And so he did all these different jobs to kind of finally get to the top where he wants to be. So he always says chief cook, something, and bottle washer. I can't think of what else he says, but basically it's like if I had to clean the toilet, I'd clean the toilet. If I had to drive the team, I'd drive the team. If I had to go get coffee for the sponsors when they came in, I went and got coffee for, it was just whatever it takes. And I think that that's a lesson that we just have to keep really pounding into the younger generation, because sometimes I think they might say, well, it's degrading that I have to go do this when I studied to do X, Y, and Z. And it's like, but in order to get the respect, because you're respected in the garage. I mean, you would not be working full time in the cup level if you did not gain respect in the garage. When did you feel like, all right, I've entered, they know who I am now, and I'm on the market, and people know that I'm a valuable employee and I can do my job?
I feel like it was after Baldwin shut down because I'd moved on to a bigger team and I was really good there. And people started noticing that, like, I work hard. Like, I'm not going to check up. Even when I was at Baldwin's, I was still all over the place. Like, I'd help with whatever I needed. When we ran the K&N car, I was the first person under the car to change springs. Like, I had no hesitation on what was needed. And I still do that. Like, there's a lot of people that when they see me, they're like, oh, I know I'm good. If you're working with me, I'm fine. Because if I see them struggling a little bit, I'll get in there and help. Or if I see that they probably need a wrench they don't have in their hand, I'll go grab it and hand it to them because guess I'm more aware of my surroundings than a lot of people are. So I know what people need, how they walk, how they work, what their mannerisms are. And not a lot of people pick up on that. So it helps me be just that little bit above where people watch me work and they're like, oh, she's already got it together.
I love the fact that you just brought that up because I think that's a gift.
Yeah.
To be able to kind of just be like, okay, this person obviously needs help, or I just need to get this done. And the thing I love about it is you're not like, ringing a bell being, hey, I'm going to go over here and do this job for you because you didn't get it done. You're a team player.
Yeah.
And I think that's so important. It's a wonderful lesson for people to learn. And the fact that you just admitted like, hey, I'm kind of good at this, so I just kind of get it done. And I think that's another thing being a female helps with. I think our intuition a little bit, that just kind of knowing helps out.
And I pick up on mannerisms too. So it's like if I'm working on a tire and I see someone walk up, I can usually tell by how they walk what guy it is. And I'm like, all right, I know what you're going to probably ask me, so I can have a better idea of what they need so I can get it to them faster.
So let's talk a little bit as well into not only are you learning how to wrench on race cars, change tires, train to be faster and stronger for pit stops and achieving all these goals. You also I'm going to also just start a clothing line. I'm going, what the heck? I'm like, well, who is this? I'm calling you the unicorn. That should be your title. Actually, I usually do a title for the show, and I was going to do tires and threads, and I totally stole that from an article that was written about you that I thought was fantastically written, but I think I'm going to change it to the unicorn. You're the racing unicorn. So what? I mean, why? Why do you start? And it's called Torqued.
Yeah.
And it's, I checked out your website and I love it.
Thank you.
It's very cool.
It started because I've always have been a crafter. My grandma was a very big crafter. She painted, she sewed, she did every crafting you could imagine. She made quilts, and I learned how to quilt when I was 12. So I picked up instantly on how to sew, and I got that creative gene from her. And as I got older, I kept sewing more. Like I do fire suit quilts still. Those are a little rough, but I was like, well, in high school, I was like, if they don't have women's clothes for automotives, like I'll just create my own, because we had to wear coveralls in auto shop in high school, and I still have them in my truck for days when it's really gross at the shop. So I have an option so I don't get all icky.
Yeah.
And they're 3 sizes too big. Like they still fit me 20 years later.
I love it.
And even in high school, I was like, I'm just going to make my own clothing line. Like I'll do it. I'm not afraid to. My parents always encouraged me to do whatever I set my mind to. And the longer I got it was in automotives. When I changed oil, I would burn through pants in one shift. I was like, the pants are an issue. Like we need to address this issue first. And when I got into racing, I was like, you guys don't have women's pants. Like you figure NASCAR's massive.
Yeah.
Someone would have a connection to, all right, here's women's pants that actually work. And they're like, no, we just wear men's pants, or we wear tactical pants. I'm like, that's not the solution. Like,
yes.
We need to fix this.
Well, and because, I mean, hello, we're women. We have hips. We have curves. And trying to wear men's pants is not comfortable.
Not at all.
It's not even like being vain. First of all, they don't even look good. But if you're not stick straight, which most of us aren't, then it's like it's just, you can't move, right? I mean, you're having to. So how do you go about designing the first pair of pants? And like, what were the top things that when you were creating, you're like, okay, obviously they have to be comfortable, but they have to be durable. So you got to find the right material.
So I started researching factories that can make patterns. And I was like, well, I have a pair I like, but I want to change the fabric of them. And I want to add some stuff. I want pockets that actually fit your phone.
Yeah.
It's like, I want full-size pockets. I wanted double knees because as a tire person, I'm on my knees all the time checking the tire pressure. And I would blow the knees out of my pants before I'd blow anything else out. And I'm a little hippie. I like my dessert. I like my shape. And I was like, I need something that's going to fit my hips, that's not going to be uncomfortable and make me feel like I'm a sardine in the middle of the racetrack. Especially with how much we're on camera. It's like, I want to be comfortable while I'm working. So once I found a factory, I was like, all right, here's a pair of pants, but these are the things I want to adjust. Like I added belt loops to the back because when you bend down, even with the belt on, it still gaps out. And then you're like, is my shirt tucked in all the way? Like,
can they see my butt crack?
Am I flashing someone right now?
That's what I'd be worried about. Like, still to this day, sometimes I'm like, okay, can y'all see down what's going on here? I'm always fussing with my clothes. So I love the fact that you're doing this in your spare time, by the way.
Yeah.
Like what spare time? And the first pair of pants get created. Now, when you did this, was it just for you or were you like, I'm going to start a company?
I wanted to start the company. I just wanted to like get the pants going. So what I actually started with was t-shirts. So I did like t-shirts with funny sayings on them and like not sure if that's grease or mascara and like make your own sandwich, I'll be in the garage. And so I started with stuff like
Wait,
that.
stop. Make your own sandwich. I'll be in the garage.
That's actually what's on the back of this shirt.
I love that. That's awesome. I love it.
So I started with like funny sayings for shirts and I put that on the website first while I was working on the pants because that's also extra income to put into the pants. So I
Smart.
wouldn't have to invest as much money myself. If I could sell some shirts, it would offset the cost a little bit. And I was like, well, I'll start with that. And I worked on the pants. I ordered like 18 different fabric samples. And I literally took a piece of sheet metal to all of them until I found one that didn't snag. I was like, this is the only way I'm going to know if it's going to snag.
So these are
or
true,
not.
tired, and tested in a NASCAR garage here, folks.
And once I found the fabric I liked, I was like, all right, let's make this. And I actually went through a couple different factories because COVID shutdowns, getting quality right, because everything I manufacture is in the U.S. I don't like taking it over because quality is easier to control, sizing's easier to control, and the cost is easier to control when I keep it in the U.S. So, but the batch I have now is my version 2, technically. It's a lighter weight fabric, but it's just as durable. I actually had a friend get hit on her motorcycle not that long ago. Her pants survived. She had rug burn on her arms, but her pants didn't have a single scratch on them.
Okay, so I manage the Rusty Ride out in Sturgis. I totally need to order some pants because honestly, I mean, not that I can wrench. Lord knows I'm terrible at doing any of that type of stuff. But when I'm riding on the back of a motorcycle, I'm not into like, oh, look how cute I am wearing my shorts. I'm like, no, I want to wear pants. First of all, I don't want to get burned. And if something happens, I want to be protected. So I love the fact that your company, you don't have to be working in the garage or a driver. You could be a fan and just love the look. It's a really cool look. I'm gonna admit I was impressed when I went on your website.
I have a couple people that wear them that they're like they work for being functional and for looking somewhat dressy because they're just black pants. Unless you look closely, you wouldn't notice that there's a double knee in them. You wouldn't notice that there's 6 full-size pockets or that there's a pen pocket. You wouldn't notice that there's extra stretch in the waistband, but they're comfortable. I made sure that we put that extra stretch in the waistband because I like my cookies.
Yeah. I love this theme because I do too, girl. I like my wine and my cookies. So let's just
we
add
don't
that.
stay the same size every day. Like
Nope.
Our sizes are always fluctuating, so I don't want the pants digging into your waist.
I love the fact that you have thought of every crate because everything you were saying is okay. The phone for your pocket because I got to have that because I do like 1,000 different jobs. So throughout the day, I got to have my phone with me, and I don't like to have the sound on, so I have to feel it. I want to, if it's ringing, I need to, oh, my phone's vibrating, I need to answer it. And then the fact, like you said, the pen, I'll need it for readers. Do you have a pair for over 50 women that need?
I go up to
a
size
pocket for
30
readers?
actually. We have up to a size 30. We go 0 to 30 in our pants, and I've had people of every age. Like my mom even has a pair that she wears for when she works. She works in real estate, and she's like, it's nice because if I have to go work on something at one of our houses, I don't have to worry about my pants getting messed up.
Oh, I love see that, and that's the thing. So this is not just caged in the garage. How many people? I mean, how well have you done so far with the company?
I've sold over 250 pairs. And that's just me advertising on my own with Instagram and Facebook.
Wow. So this has room to grow. We need to get you on Shark Tank.
Yeah. Like, I would love for it to grow bigger because it's hard for me to reach all the trades like construction and electrical. Those are all trades that I could go into. It's just, I'm a racing person. So it's like, they're like, well, what do you know about construction? I'm like, I know how to build stuff.
Well, there you go. That's what I would say. Like, listen, I know how to build stuff. What do you want to talk about?
But it's like I've had pairs last 6 years in the garage, and I am not gentle on my pants. Like, I'm the first person where if something's wrong, I'll be on the ground rolling around.
I didn't realize you were doing all these things. I knew that, there was a gal out there that had been working on tires that was, pretty successful. And so I thought that's pretty cool. And then my producer over at Sirius XM is like, well, she's got a clothing line. And then I'm going like, what? Clothing? What? I'm like, fashion? I love this. Oh, this whole idea. We were talking before we started recording that I was doing some stuff in off-road racing. Yeah. And I felt like I needed a pair of pants because you're out in the middle of the desert. And, there's dust and grit and sand and stuff's flying all around. And I really wanted to find a pair. But I wanted to look good. Yeah. And I wanted to be comfortable. To be honest with you, comfort is such a big thing as well. And just with the function, like I'm going to be walking around an off-road race with my purse. So no, I needed a pocket for my phone and, I got to have my lipstick in there too. And that's, I guess one of the things that I think is so cool is that, yes, you are extremely cool, but you're not trying to be a man. You're
No.
like, you're mixing, you're kind of blending like the whole kind of male vibe of working in the garage, right?
Yeah.
And needing something that's durable and functional, but you're not giving up your femininity because you still got some cool sayings and you've got like the lipstick and all the different.
Yeah.
So I guess I'm just impressed by that because you're not afraid to say I'm still a girl. It's okay.
Yeah. Like, I love cheetah print. My toolbox is actually covered in cheetah print. Half the tools in my toolbox have cheetah print on them. And the guy's like, why? I was like, you going to take a cheetah print tool? Like, no. It's like, I can see my tool from across
You
the
are
shop.
so functional. You are so functional because that's the big fight in our family. Mike's 2 boys, well, now 3 boys, but we always laugh that Dustin and Jamie, he goes, they have stolen all my tools. Like for years, I was getting Snap-on and Mac and all these tools. He goes, and I don't even have half of them anymore because they never put them back. So I love the fact that you're like, you want to be, okay, I know that you got my tool. It's the cheetah tool. Set it down.
And it's like, I have Halloween pens at work too. And it's like, if someone takes my pen, I'm like, where'd you get that pen? They're like, oh. Or they'll walk off with it on accident. They'll come back and be like, I stole your pen. I'm sorry. And they'll give it back just because it's different. And it's like, I love the fact that I am different. Like, I'm known at the track for having the French braids in my hair because it keeps my hair up.
Yes.
And they're like, well, how do you do it? I'm like, because I've learned. Like, I have really thick, long hair. I can't just put it in a bun because it would drive me crazy all day. The braids keep it up.
The thing is, it's like you are educating and teaching the men how to be more efficient, and I absolutely love that. Has anybody even given you credit for that?
Yeah, they come to me when they need something organized or fixed. They're like, you handle this because we know you can do it. It's like they'll just give me a rough like ballpark of what they need, and I'm like, all right, got it. Like, I'll take care of it. Don't worry.
I just think it's like so crazy. Again, I keep going back to the unicorn thought process because you were talking about quilting and you do these fire suit quilts and you started off like, here's this little girl that loves automotive, cars, racing, but then you also still like, yeah, but I like to sew too. It's okay. And because most of the time when you meet women in racing, it's like, no, I'm all racing.
Yeah.
I don't like lipstick and I'm not fussy with it. And you're like going, I'm just going to embrace it all. Why not? Why can't you? Right?
Like, makeup is not my strong suit. I can do eyeliner, I can do lipstick, but beyond that, I'm like, count me out. Luckily, I have very nice skin, so I don't have to worry about the makeup part of it. But it's like, I have no problem walking around in like 6-inch heels. I'm like, I'll go rock my heels, but I also have to be careful when I'm in my 6-inch heels because if someone has a car problem, I'll just go climb on the floor in my little skirt and heels and not think about it. So it's like, I guess it's probably from my soccer years. I always wear shorts under my skirts, and everyone's like, why? I'm like, because I am notorious for just sitting on the ground and not knowing that I'm wearing a skirt. So I'm going to wear my shorts underneath my skirt because I will just climb on the ground.
I just love the fact that you're just like, I'm just willing to do whatever it takes, folks. I mean, you need some help. And so I was laughing because I literally had a meltdown just a few weeks ago. It was like 5:00 in the morning, pitch black. I'm out in the middle of like someplace in, outside of North Wilkesboro, North Carolina, and I was driving down to the PRN studios. I was driving actually to start my first Motorvate podcast, and my guest was Alba Cologne, who I admire so much because she's just been such an amazing influence for women in engineering and racing. And I'm like, I'll be damned if I'm late, right, to meet with Alba because I just thought it was an honor that she would even come in and be my first guest. And so I lost my mind because I got lost. My navigation took me in a weird direction. And then all of a sudden I'm going, what? I know how to get to the PRN studios. I'm not that, I don't know why I was so like unfocused that morning. And on top of that, I get this tire low on my car. And I'm like, are you kidding me? I'm out in the middle of BFE, okay? Like, I don't even know where I'm at, someplace in the country. It was taking all these country roads to get here. So I call Mike, and the first thing he says was, why are you on that road? Why aren't you on 77? What are you doing? And I'm like, don't argue with me. And I'd like literally have a flipping meltdown on him. And he goes, Angie, calm down, take a breath. Because I'm thinking my tire's going to blow, and I'm out in the middle of nowhere. And I wasn't even worried about the tire blowing. I was worried about being late for Alba, because I'm like, oh my gosh, I cannot be late. So he's like, listen, I'm like, is my tire going to blow? I mean, what do I need to do? Like, and I was like, I felt so stupid that I did not know how to go pull into a gas station and figure out the air pressure. And after that, I'm like, I got to learn how to do this. Yeah. So Mike and he's been talking to me, and they're like, obviously the universe is giving me a signal that I really need to learn it because just last week I have a Mini Cooper. I love driving it. tire low. And I'm like, what is going on with this whole weird tire low crap with me? So I call Mike again. He goes, for God's sakes, just go put air in it. I'm like, I don't know how. I'm embarrassed that I don't know how to do it. And it's like, I don't know why. I'm like, I mean, I guess I can't blow it up. I don't, I'm thinking, well, yeah, you could. Yeah. So Mike and I were having a conversation. I'm like, okay, explain to me tire pressures, what they should be on a car just when you're driving. And then we started actually talking about race cars. And he goes, like when we used to do Martinsville on the left sides, we'd only have like 8 pounds of pressure on the left side. And I was like, what?
Yeah.
What are you talking about? So it was kind of interesting to learn about it. But I wish, myself included, more women would learn how to work on their own cars so we don't feel so stranded. I felt like a woman in the 1940s, like wearing like like a little skirt. Like, I don't know how to do this. Please, some man come help me. And I'm like, come on, Angie. And then you're my third sign. Then I have you as one of my guests. So I'm going, you figure this crap out. It's not that hard, right?
It's really not. No, it's actually easier for women because we pay more attention to details. We don't just wing it, and we actually look at directions too.
Hello.
So
Thank you.
A lot of guys especially struggle because they'll be like, oh, I'll just figure it out as I go. And then they get in there and they've got that extra bolt and they're like, where'd this go? Or they're missing a bolt and they're like, oh boy.
Yeah.
I lost my bolt.
You're like, that could be very important.
Yeah.
And so I love that. You are so direct about going, okay, listen, we're better at this. We're better at that. Apply those skills. Have you ever heard of Faye Hadley?
Yeah.
So we interviewed her on Skinner Roundup on our show on Sirius XM. And I loved talking to her. She kind of reminds me of you a little bit because she embraces her femininity, but she's also like, listen, I had to work hard. I had to figure this out. I went to ASE certification school. I'm still going to some certifications. And she actually admitted she wants to work on, like, kind of maybe be a crew chief. She just doesn't want to drive. She's like, I don't want to drive. She's working on a Subaru right now. So I told her I'll send Skinner out there to, and she can boss him around and tell him. But I love meeting these women who have just, listen, why is it not okay for us to want to do what men are usually known to do?
Yeah. And there's actually a lot of groups I found on Facebook that are really supportive of that. There's a repair shop actually in Philadelphia that's owned by a female, and she has a nail shop attached to it.
Stop it.
So you can go get your nails done while your car gets worked on. And she has a group on Facebook called Shecanics, and she encourages a lot of females to join. And she has a book about like learning the basics of the trade.
Okay, so I need to get that book. That might be my help to kind of get started in this.
And there's a lot of girls that'll go on there and be like, all right, I have this kind of car. This happened. How do I know what to look for? Or is this okay to even drive? And so there's a lot of others that'll chime and be like, yeah, just check this. If this is okay, then we can do this. And I've joined those that way I can give my advice too, because I wish there were more females that worked on cars because it's not a big enough amount for me. Like, I think that we should all be doing it regardless of what our gender is. You should do whatever you want. Like, if you love cars, you shouldn't be discouraged just because you're a female.
So what can the sport, any of the motorsports, not just NASCAR, let's not single them out. I mean, there's tons of disciplines in motorsport. What can they do, you think, to encourage women to get more involved and start learning the trade?
I think showing more women in the trades and not just making it like a fluff, because a lot of time they'll be like, all right, we want to talk to the women, but we only want to talk to like certain women in the trade. It's like, show the ones that are getting down and dirty, show the ones covered in grease, show them that it's okay. And that no one's going to judge them for it. Because I feel like a lot of women are also worried that they don't have thick enough skin. Most of the guys I work with are the nicest guys in the world. They're a little moody.
Yes.
But
aren't we all?
Yeah, it's like sometimes they're a little sensitive. I'm like, did you bring your sensitivity to work today? And they always get like a little sassy. I'm like, you can't bring feelings to work. Like, if you bring me a feeling, I'm going to bring it right back to you. And it's like, I think that more girls need to see that you can be yourself. You don't have to live to a norm or a bubble. You just be who you are. And that's because I grew up with parents that said, you do you, and we're always going to support you. Because there's a lot of people that don't grow up with that, where they're put in a bubble and they're told, well, you have to follow society's norms. I'm opposite. Like, I love cemeteries. I love creepy stuff. My parents encouraged it. They were like, all right, let's go clean a cemetery then. Like, let's go do the creepy stuff.
You have cool parents, okay?
I was very fortunate that my parents are very much whatever makes you happy, we're there for you.
It's really interesting that it starts there. And you've said this I mean, probably over 5 times. My parents supported me. My
Yeah.
parents supported me. And I think that's such a great message because you were never really told no by your
Yeah.
parents. It's like, okay, this is what you enjoy doing. Let's go help you get that passion. But you also didn't expect it to be handed to you. You
Yeah.
went to school, like you said. Listen, I gave up going to college because I wanted to learn how to work on cars.
Yeah.
I did a trade, and I'm going to turn it into my dream.
Yeah. And
And
it's
that's fine. That's okay.
like, I have a lot of guys that'll, like, call girls princess in the garage, and they'll try to call me that, and I'm like, "You can call me any name in the book, but don't call me princess, because princesses get stuff handed to them."
Ooh,
I've
yeah.
never once had anything handed to me, and they're always like, "Well, but you're a princess." I'm like, "I'm the farthest thing from a princess. I worked hard for everything I have." And it's like, that's always their go-to. I'm like, "Fine, you're a princess too. If I'm a princess, then you're gonna be a princess."
I love the fact that you just said princesses get everything handed to you. Are so right. I'm totally going to look into that word in such a different way. I remember one time, you'll love this. So I was it was after a race at Bristol, go figure, in the truck series, and a crew member on an opposing team that Mike probably roughed up. I guarantee he roughed up the driver on track because that was my husband's reputation. And I'm walking down pit road. And the guy grabbed me. And I always had this attitude when I walked down pit road because I wanted to be, when I was kind of working, and yeah, I'm Mike's wife, but I don't want to be like, all fussy.
Yeah.
I just like, I'm a race fan. I'm here to, support Mike or whatever. And so the big joke was Mike would sometimes come up to me and like mess with me in my back, like a guy maybe grabbing at me to see how I'd react. And I mean, I'd be turning around like
Yeah.
I'm gonna throat punch whoever, and so that he would always get a kick out of that. So it caught me off guard because this crew guy grabs my arm while I'm on pit road and goes, "Hey," and I was like, "Well, first of all, get your hand off me. I don't know
Yeah.
what you're doing, and second of all, what are you yelling at me for?" And he's like, "You tell your husband." And I went, "Well, he's right there.
Yeah.
Why don't you go tell him why am I'm not driving the race car." And I'm like, "Oh, you're intimidated by him, so you think you're going to come to me." And I'm like, "That's really funny because I'm going to call you right out in front of him."
Yeah.
Because I ain't putting up with this crap, right? You're not going to intimidate me. And it was so funny because at the time, I went straight to Wayne Otten. He was a director. And I'm like, "Listen, that crap better not happen to me anymore because I'm going to short out on pit road."
Yeah.
Like, I do not like that. And Wayne, of course, had a meeting. Okay, I got to get all my kids in, get
Yeah.
all the kindergartners into the trailer. And he told Mike, he's like, "Now, Mike, don't you throw a punch. I know you're mad because this guy grabbed your wife and all this stuff." And so they let them have it out in the trailer. Mike gave him a warning that I don't think he still probably would never forget to this day. But the next week, I was walking by and I heard one of the guys go, "Oh, there's the NASCAR Princess," and I was like, "Do what?" I'm like, "Because I called you out?
Yeah.
Because I didn't back down?" I was like, "Whatever." So when you said the princess, I just like, I just totally remembered that. It's all of a sudden, why are they calling us a princess? Come on, come up with something more creative, boys.
Yeah. It's like, I always get that. Like, they'll come to me thinking they can out intimidate me. I'm like, I'm not afraid of you.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's like, then you hurt their feelings, and they try to be worse. And it's like, I'm still not afraid of you.
Yeah.
Like, you don't scare me, especially at the track. It's like, you put your hands on me, it's not going to end well for you. I have more people in this garage that like me than like you.
Thank you. Exactly. I just love the fact that you're confident and you're not sassy about it. You're just direct. Like,
Yeah.
"Hey, I'm going to be open. I'm going to let you know." And I think that's great advice too for other women. Like, handle it yourself. If you're going to work in what's always been considered a man's world, you're going to have tough skin.
Yeah.
But the way that you handle it, I have a girlfriend that says, bully a bully.
Yeah.
So basically, if they're going to do something ugly and mean to you, you can go back to them, not as ugly or mean, but put it back at them what they're doing to you. And the way that you do it is almost like a fun, non-direct, like you're kind of laughing about it, like, okay, well, you're going to be a princess too.
Yeah. It's like, they can try to intimidate me. I'm just like, okay. Like, and they're like, "Well, I heard this. Someone said this about you." I'm like, "What'd they say? What's the gossip of the week? Like,
Oh, I
what
love
gossip
that.
do I need to know about?"
Yeah, fill me in. I want to hear about it. This is great news. I'm bored right now.
Yeah.
I love it. I love your attitude. I love the company. Plug the website, please, because the way you spell it is really cool, but I want to make sure that people can find it.
It's www.torqd torqueclothing.com. And you can find us on Instagram, Facebook. I have an X, but I'm not very good at it, at TORQ_D.
And you've got some really cool. I wrote something down. I'm trying to remember. The Gearhead ugly sweaters.
Yes.
That is hilarious. So it's like kind of a play on ugly sweater contest, but they're like these Gearhead sweaters. I was dying laughing when I saw those. I'm like, I can totally rock one of those.
Yeah, like I have one that's a summoning the holiday spirit with a little Ouija board planchette, because I'm like, you got to add the spooky stuff in there too for those that don't like the bubbly Christmas. It's like I've got just about something for everyone on there. I have everything from sassy buns. I've got cheetah print with the gearhead and the lips, and then I've got gearhead stuff. I've tried to cover everything for everyone. I even have a spooky section that's all just like gearhead mixed with Halloween vibes, because I love the Halloween side. So I'm like, I'll just add in everything for everyone. If someone ever wants a design that I don't have, they just have to tell me, because I do all the design work myself too. So anytime someone wants something, I'm like, all right, just tell me and I'll design it.
Okay, girl, don't tell me that. I'm going to be bothering you all the time. Like, hey, I got this great idea, because whenever I go to the track, I always like to wear something that's kind of racy.
Yeah.
Right? It's kind of fun. Not racy as in sexy, as in like racetrack-ish,
Yeah.
like the sport. And it's kind of fun. It makes me feel like, hey, you're kind of cool, part of the vibe, and kind of put it out there that I'm a big race fan. And I love the fact, like, I felt like I could get on your website and I could shop for myself, even though I'm not working in a garage.
Well, and I don't do the glittery bedazzle, because I feel like that's
I don't like
very
that.
overdone.
Yeah.
For people that are actually like in the garage and around the cars, like, I don't want a bedazzled shirt.
No.
I don't want the pink foofy frilly. It's like, I want something I can wear every day and be comfortable, or I can throw it on with a pair of shorts and go to the grocery store and not be like, oh, I look a certain way.
Well, I love it. And anything I can do to help you promote the business, because I think it's really cool and I love it and I love clothes. Okay.
Yeah.
So just ask my husband. he'll tell you. But and I thought about this too, and I wanted to bring this up really quick. You have the quilts, the fire suit quilts. So I had to share a story. So this might be something that you can maybe incorporate into Torqued. I have a good friend, Debbie Polson. She and her husband were owners of CNR Racing for years. They sold it. They're now retired, but they still do a lot with us in the community. And we went hiking one day, and she had on this really cute skirt, and it was all these different T-shirts from national parks that she had been to.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that is so cool. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I have stacks of like Mike Skinner T-shirts that I didn't want to, I don't wear them anymore, but I felt bad throwing them away.
Yeah.
Like, I felt like I can't throw away my husband's T-shirts. Like all the other sponsors, I'm like, yeah, I'm giving away, I don't care. But I'm like, I got to keep the ones with Skinner. So I'm like, do you think you could make me a skirt where, you do, and I wear this skirt all the time, and now I think I need to do another one. So I might be like, okay, how can we get creative now with, it's the most comfortable skirt ever. So I actually need to get a cool T-shirt on your site to kind of go with my skirt. But it's
I've actually
all of
got
these
one
old-
for you with me.
Oh,
Yeah.
yes, girl. Okay. Thank you. I love me some gifts.
Yeah.
That's my love language. I can't help it. I love gifts.
I actually do crew shirt quilts too. I've got 4 sitting in my house right now of old crew shirts for guys, and I've made teddy bears with old racing shirts. I've done like little Japanese knot bags. I've made a handful of those out of crew shirts. I've done some pillows for guys. It's like guys will be like, I want to make something for my mom or my wife, or I want to make this for my parents. So they'll give me their shirts and be like, this color scheme, you do you. So I've done everything from fire suits to blankets to bears.
And you're sewing all this yourself. I mean, it's
Yep.
just...
I do it whenever I'm not working.
Okay, so I was trying to come up with, I was talking to Stephen Wallace one day. I'm like, what do you do with all this memorabilia, and all this, I have doubles of things. I only need one, to keep the memoriam, I guess, of Mike Skinner's racing career. But he's like, I don't know, man, just give it away. I don't know what you can do. But it's kind of cool now to take all that retro, those coats and all those things. But now you might get a box for me one day. I'm like, here's a bunch of old crew stuff I found. Figure out something fun to do with it and have fun with it.
Yeah, I do a lot of like couch blanket throws for a lot of guys too. Like they'll make it just for the throw for their parents to have on their couch, and then it's got all their memories on it.
That's special. That's so creative. I love it. You're cool. You're very cool.
Thank you.
I dig you. Okay, so if we are looking in the rearview mirror, is there something, a piece of advice, something that maybe you did that you're like, I should have done that a little differently?
Don't let guys intimidate you. Because I've done that a couple times where I let guys intimidate me, and then down the road I look back and I'm like, I shouldn't have let them do that. Like they won because I let them intimidate me. And not everyone understands, like, when you give in to those bullies or you give in to the intimidation and you stop doing what you enjoy, they win. and you can never let them win.
That's very good advice. Very good advice. Now, looking out the windshield, gotta look forward. What's going on? What's next? What's maybe a goal, a bucket list item? I mean, you've accomplished a lot already, but there's more to come, I'm sure.
I want a cup championship.
Ooh, I like it, girl. Listen to you.
Yeah.
You want that ring, right?
Yeah.
That's very cool. Well, you're in the Cup Series, and I think that that is a goal that can be acquired. And in the meantime, we got to build your business up, too, because it's really cool.
I want more women to be able to get access to the pants and get access to the clothes and be comfortable expressing who they are and not feeling like they have to fit society's norms.
That's just a great way to end today's show. Thank you so much. I'm changing the title. Like I said, I was stealing tires and threads, which is cool, but that wasn't my own. You are the unicorn, the racing unicorn, and it's not a princess.
Yes.
All right, guys, that's all the time we have for Motorvate today. Wherever you get your podcast, subscribe, give us a few comments, let us know more stories that you want to hear from the racing world. And in the meantime, keep motivating.